Good morning, Santa Cruz. Good morning, Santa Cruz. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you, and it's a beautiful day here. And I just wanted to reach out to people about things that you can do about your health. Right now we have a huge pandemic, and it's called peripheral neuropathy. And it's affecting so many people so severely. And I know that there's a lot that can be done about it. We've been helping people for quite a while, and I'm sure would love to have you get the information you need. So we'll be doing a workshop at my office on peripheral neuropathy this coming Tuesday, the 18th of February. And I'd love you to come. It's from 12:30 to about 1:30. It's free. And you can learn about what we are finding that we can do to handle peripheral neuropathy, where a lot of people are told that it is not helpable. So there's that's just not the truth about peripheral neuropathy. It can be helped. We've been helping scores of people in the time that we've been working with peripheral neuropathy, making a huge difference in people's lives. So I'm going to go into some information on it. I'm pulling up a slideshow here for anybody who wants to see this later. You could go to my website on my YouTube channel, Dr. Duncan McCollum, and see a PowerPoint as I'm explaining what we know we can do about peripheral neuropathy. So, what is peripheral neuropathy, and how's it affecting you? How does it come on, and what can be done about it? So that's going to be the gist of the show. If you're interested in coming into the workshop on the 18th, again, Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic. It's going to be in our Capitola office. 18th of February, 12:30 will be the showtime. And we need you to give us a call and let us know you're coming so we can prepare for you. We will provide a light lunch, and hopefully we will give you some answers that you need, either for yourself or for somebody that you care about. So I'm going to go ahead and just start with my slideshow that I have here. And it has to do with, a letter that has been put together regarding this phenomenon called peripheral neuropathy, how it comes about and what it results in. And then we will go into what can be done about it. All right. So this letter starts, "My dear friend, I'm not really sure when I first noticed it nor what it was I did notice. All I remember is that one day there was just this feeling of foreboding over me, kind of like I was doomed. At first, it would just fade in and out, and I wasn't really sure. Well, I didn't really want to believe it was really there. I think I was trying to will it away. It didn't work. Well, that was 3 years ago, and now it seems that my worst dreams have come true. It's with me every day. Even if I sleep, when I wake up, I'm hoping that it's gone, but it hasn't not magically disappeared yet. Well, that was what I did for a while, but now it's part of me every day and it just won't go away. So, what is peripheral neuropathy? And those are two words you don't really want to hear. And basically, peripheral neuropathy, um, the periphery is the outside of, the periphery of your house would be your garden or your yard. The center part of your house would be inside the house. So the peripheral nervous system is the nerves that live outside of the spine and brain. And so peripheral neuropathy has to do with damage to the nerves that come out of the spine, that exit the spine and go to all the cells and organs in your body. So you have 100 trillion cells in your body. Excuse me, you have 75 trillion cells in your body, 100 trillion microbiome in your gut, which we'll talk about a bit and what that role is with peripheral neuropathy as well. So there's been diagnosed over 25 million Americans have been diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy. And usually it is a very slow process that comes on, and eventually you start to wonder, well, what is it that gave me peripheral neuropathy? Do I really have peripheral neuropathy? And so There's so many people that have not been diagnosed with it, and that's what we want to help you realize is whether or not this is something that you need to get handled or not. All right. So if 25 million Americans have been diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy, how many people have not? How many Americans are walking around wondering what their problems are and not realizing that it is one of peripheral neuropathy? The central nervous system, again, is the brain and the nerves that come down the center of the spine. That is the central nervous system. And then once those 31 nerves exit the center or the central spine, they become the peripheral nerves. So you have 31 peripheral nerves that go to all 75 trillion human cells in your body. And a lot of those cells make up systems, organs, like the liver, the kidney, the lungs, the heart, the digestive system, the circulatory system, the musculoskeletal system, all these things that we kind of take for granted when we wake up in the morning and plop our feet on the ground and decide, okay, we're going to go live our day. And then all of a sudden, a lot of these things can start to buck the system, so to speak, and you're not able to get around quite as much as you would like to. So there's something called the vagus nerve. It's one of the cranial nerves, cranial nerve 10, that comes out of your brain, exits at the top of your spinal cord, and then goes to all of the organs of your body without traveling down the center of the spine. This system controls the functions that you don't have to think about, the autonomic, they're automatic. And this would be the beating of the lungs, the digestive system, all of those things that your body does to survive. I remember as a kid lying in bed one evening trying to go to sleep, and I was about 5 years old, and I thought, wow, what if I quit breathing? I have to stay awake so I don't quit breathing. And as interesting or funny as it seems, that stuck with me for quite a while. So I was I was very happy to find out that I woke up the next day. So what is peripheral neuropathy? It's damage to the nervous system, anything that damaged the nerves of the periphery. Now, some of them can be aberrant or wrong communications of information to and from the brain, or it can be partial. This is what happens when the nerves start to break down. The protective coating around the nerves, called the myelin sheath, starts to break down, just like on a lamp that goes into a wall. If the plastic coating around the copper wire going from the light bulb to the wall socket, if that plastic coating starts to break down, you have the risk of having damage to the silver or to the copper wire itself and or getting electrocuted. And in our body, when that myelin sheath breaks down that supplies blood and oxygen to our peripheral nerves, the nerves will start to break down and they start to die because of lack of oxygen and nutrients. And this is one of the major causes of peripheral neuropathy. Um, so every nerve in the peripheral nerve system has a job. A lot of them are sensory nerves. Sensory nerves are those nerves that can, you feel touch, temperature, vibration, hot, cold, those type of things. And then there's the motor nerves that control the muscles and allow the skeleton to function correctly and get you to ambulate around or move around the planet. Then there's the autonomic nerves, what I mentioned, the ones that come out of the 10th cranial nerve and go to every organ in your body. A lot of times, people that have excess sweating, increased heart rate, digestive trouble, bladder problems, have to go to the bathroom a lot, could have actually a neuropathy of the nerve going to those organs from either the spine itself, the spinal nerves itself, or the autonomic nerves from the vagus nerve that comes out of the top of the head. So just remember, our bodies are amazing. They're made to survive and function. Uh, just like a brand new car out of the lot, it's supposed to run very smoothly. If you don't take care of the maintenance of that vehicle, it's going to break down. And we've not really been taught throughout our lifetime how to take care of our body, and it's breaking down. And so there is a really good solution, and that is to find out what's causing the problem and reverse it. Sometimes there's damage done, and we have to help repair the damage. The cool thing is that the body has the power to heal itself, and we just need to remove the barriers and confusions that are getting in the way of the body healing itself so it can. And that's what chiropractic does in general. We look for what's called a subluxation in the body. Sub means below, luxation means under the light. Or so it's under the light, basically, anything that's not going correctly. Now, we can have subluxations, physical ones on the nerves, or we can have them breaking down the communication in the body for other reasons, whether it's chemical, compression, um, all these different type of things, and we'll go into here. Again, my name's Dr. Duncan McCollum. I will be doing a workshop at my office on February 18th on peripheral neuropathy, and you're welcome to come. It's in Capitola, McCollum Family Chiropractic. It will be 12:30 to 1:30, and it's going to be Tuesday, the 18th of February. And I make a call and make sure to make a reservation because we have limited seating. If you know somebody that needs to come, let them know, bring them along, if a family member or even yourself. It's a great idea to get information. We also be giving you a really great chance to have testing done at a very, very reasonable price to see if this is something that we can help you with. So the peripheral nerves come out of, again, let's say the ones that come out of the low back go down to the toes, control all the muscle function, regeneration of all of the blood vessels, the cells, the toenails, um, ligaments, tendons, muscles, all that kind of stuff it's necessary for the nerves to function well to keep those things healthy. And if the nerves are starting to break down due to any kind of issue, then when they break down, we got to do something to fix it. And we're going to help you discover what that is. Sometimes you might just start off noticing pins and needles in your hands and feet or legs, hot, cold. You might have a sensitivity. You might not feel anything until somebody touches your extremities, your feet, and then you have hypersensitivity. A lot of times people might not be able to have a bed sheet on them at night because it's so irritating or even painful. We had one patient that was telling us that her and her husband used to argue about whether they were going to have blankets on their feet or not because she couldn't have it because it was irritating her feet with the peripheral neuropathy where he would get his feet cold. So once we helped her get that handled, that was like it saved their marriage because, when you have, obviously, when you have something going on, it's so hard for your loved ones or your spouses to understand what it is you're feeling. So bring them with you to the Peripheral Neuropathy Workshop on the 18th of February so that they can understand what you've been going through and perhaps know what to do to help you. Sometimes we get numbness or burning or itching and various things, arthritides in our hands and feet, aching, stiffness, weakness. These are all signs of the nerves um, not working well. And eventually you will lose more and more function and hopefully not wait till you're completely debilitated before you can do something to reverse this. Remember, 25 million Americans have been diagnosed with peripheral neuropathy. So many people are going through life not even knowing why they are not doing well. And then one day it hits them so hard that they have tremendous problems getting that handled. So hopefully we'll catch you in time. So some of the symptoms that people might have, a list of them, I'm just going to go down it here and check off yes or no. Difficulty walking, balance problems. A lot of times people tell me that they trip walking on the sidewalk where there might be a little lip in the pavement because of a tree root. And when we were younger and more agile, when we hit that tree root with our foot, we had a really good riding reflex and we would just move our feet quickly, retain our balance, and move onwards and kind of, maybe not even think about the fact that we almost tripped. But as the peripheral neuropathy gets worse and the delayed communication from our feet to our brain because of the slowing down of the nerves traveling up and down the spine, you're going to have more and more of these kind of problems. So balance issues. And then oftentimes when you don't have the proper regulation, you can have difficulty on stairs. Um, Moving up and down. Sometimes you have to put one foot up or down because of the lack of coordination, needing to hold on to things, trouble sleeping because of pains and just burning feet, burning extremities, hands, throbbing. A lot of times people have the peripheral neuropathy is worse in the evening than it is during the day. And so we want to make sure that we get that handled for you and help you with this. Pins and needles are really common. Pain, numbness, swelling, fatigue or heaviness, difficulty driving. This is huge. A lot of people have so much trouble driving their car because they can't tell if their foot's on the gas pedal or the brake. And, they don't want to tell anybody because if you tell somebody about this, then, you are going to lose your license. So a lot of times people don't tell anybody that they are having trouble driving. And this is dangerous. It scares them. And, it's just a safety hazard, but it's also very scary because it's a loss of independence that people are noticing. And nobody wants to lose their independence. So I remember one patient that came in and she didn't want to tell her husband that she was losing her ability to drive. And, finally we were able to get them both together, show the results of our peripheral neuropathy, and we actually got them on the program. And I haven't heard that from her at all. She's on regular wellness chiropractic treatment in the office, and she doesn't. Have the issues that she did with her feet. They're much better off. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum. We're doing a workshop on February 18th at my office in Capitola, 831-459-9990. That's McCollum Family Chiropractic. You can call that number. I'll give it out. I had one patient tell me to keep telling my name and number because they can't remember it. So that's one of the things too is, memory issues. Because your, if you're losing sensation with the nerves in your feet, you are also losing sensation or function of the neurons in your brain. Oftentimes brain fog goes along with peripheral neuropathy, which makes things even worse. So sometimes people feel tight bands around their feet, or like saran wrap, or like the socks are balled up under their feet, and just how irritating and annoying that is, and it can go from irritating and annoying to very, very bothersome. And, pretty soon it's going to continue. The one thing about peripheral neuropathy, it starts slowly and then it starts to get a little bit ahead of steam. And then all of a sudden it goes up like the tip of a hockey stick. And this is a thing that you need to be aware of and catch it before it gets that bad. Most of the time we can still help you, but getting it handled early on, it makes a lot more sense. So loss of independence is a huge part of peripheral neuropathy. We've had men and people even in their 50s. Actually, the youngest person was 26. She had very bad chemical poisoning that did almost irreparable damage to her feet. So she had to wear big, thick boots so she didn't trip. We were able to help her quite a lot. Turning back a peripheral neuropathy is very important. It may never be 100%, and maybe it will, depending on how hard you want to work at it and how hard you want to work at finding the upstream causes of this. So a lot of times the first thing we do, think about being in a boat and you're out in the middle of the ocean, there's no land in sight, and the boat is sinking. So there's a reason for the boat sinking, number one, and the fact that the boat is sinking is number two. So you have a choice. Try to figure out why the boat's sinking or stop it from sinking. So if you fail to find the cause, the boat will sink. So the first thing you got to do is bail out the boat as fast as you can. And that's our first step, which is determine how much peripheral neuropathy you have, and then bail it out by rebuilding those nerves with various techniques that we have found to work very well in our office, and a lot of stuff you do at home. So we give you home work to do as well as things in our office that are just amazing at helping regenerate and repair those peripheral nerves. So once we get the boat to a floatable point. In other words, we get your body so your nerves are no longer dying rapidly and maybe turned around, and you're getting some of your function back at that point. And at the same time, quite honestly, we will work on finding out what the upstream cause is, whether what's killing the nerves, um, whether it's a toxicity, um, some kind of um, blood condition like diabetes. We know that 60% of the people in the United States are diabetic or pre-diabetic. So a lot of times we have to help them handle that, or they might be doing that somewhere else. As long as they're making headway, that's awesome. It might be that you've been exposed to tons of chemicals in your life, various things in the garden, forever chemicals. Maybe you've had chemotherapy or radiation for a serious condition. And the all chronic disease seems to lead to peripheral neuropathy. I'll go into that a little bit more, but when loss of independence, I find a lot of people when they are, quote, in their golden years, they've done the work. They've showed up 8 to 5. They've, put money away for their retirement. They want to travel. They want to garden. They want to walk on the beach or hike, go enjoy the sights of the world, only to find that they're not able to do that. And that's a good reason to come find out about my peripheral neuropathy workshop on the 18th of February, McCollum Family Chiropractic in California, Capitola. 831-459-9990. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a peripheral neuropathy problem. If you're finding loss of independence due to back pain, leg cramp, foot problem, knee problem, we may have a solution for you there as well. So if this doesn't relate to you, you can call and come in and have a complimentary consultation for our tissue regenerative therapy, stem cell treatment, and or just chiropractic itself. But today I really want to focus on peripheral neuropathy because so many people that we've helped have asked me to reach out and see if there's more people that we can help. And we have lots of success stories that you can hear in the office. Um, so unable to enjoy the outdoors, gardening, yard work, etc. Maybe you stop socializing because you don't want to be a burden to people. You just stop showing up. You don't attend events because you're just afraid that you're going to look like a burden to people or be embarrassed about your condition. So if that's the case, then something can be done about it. And you deserve the chance to see if we can help you. And there's no charge to come to my office and at least find out if it makes any sense of what we're doing. A lot of people have difficulty traveling. Again, you've worked your whole life just to be able to go walk on cobblestone streets in Europe, and now you're afraid to. You don't want to travel. You've lost that desire. Well, have you lost the desire, or have you settled for the fact that your body is breaking down on you and you didn't have an opportunity to take care of it like you should? So I want to make sure that we help you get your life so you can enjoy it. We only live in this body once on this planet, so you might as well try to go for it. It's worth every penny you can spend to be healthy, be happy, enjoy your life. We talking about travel and vacations, beach hikes, um, trail hikes, watching the grandkids play sports on a gopher hole ridden field that you don't want to walk on because you're afraid you're going to trip. Walking your dog because they'll pull you off balance. Even difficulty riding in the car because of different type of issues. You don't want to entertain, or your cooking is difficult standing at the counter, cooking, standing around the house, feeling like you don't have the ability to carry out the obligations that you've, you know, committed to your family to be able to be a supportive member and to help people achieve their dreams and goals. By the way, I'm wearing a tie here today that one of my peripheral neuropathy patients got me. It's very cool. It has a bunch of neurons on it, and it's a beautiful tie. Janet, if you're listening, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's a very cool tie. I've been wearing it every day this week since you gave it to me. So, yeah, falls and complications of falls is really important too to consider. People fall, they slip, they trip, and then they hurt themselves more. So, if you could prevent yourself from those falls, it's worth every bit of spending an hour of your time coming to our office on February 18th and see if we can help you. So if you come this week or this next week, the number is 831-459-9990, and we change your life. All I ask you to do is tell a friend. Tell somebody that we've helped so that we can help others. A lot of time people lose their inspiration for living, because of these problems, and it's not okay. If you have friends and family members you want to be around and they want to be around you, make sure that you do what you can to get your body healthy. A lot of times, again, because of the impact of your ability to ambulate or walk around or enjoy your life, you become anxious or it has an emotional impact on you. Sometimes the fear, anxiety, and frustration will keep you from, doing things. And we don't want that to happen. So, also, the concern for becoming a burden to your family is another thing that is stops people from moving around the planet. And we want to make sure we give you any chance we can to help reduce that burden. So some of the many causes that I've already mentioned: diabetes mellitus. 60% of the population are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And out of that 60%, 30 to 40% well-developed peripheral neuropathy. So if you are already pre-diabetic, just get ahead of the game. Now, there's a lot to do to turn around diabetes these days. And that's part of the upstream cause of the problem. I mentioned bailing out the boat and then plugging the hole in the boat. Well, the diabetes mellitus, diabetes type 2, is oftentimes the hole in the boat that needs to be addressed. And we help you with that. If you aren't already getting help, we're just going to help you with clean up your diet. We typically just work with helping your body get healthy. We're not going to get in the way of what your medical doctors want you to do. By all means, if you have a medical condition, you have to talk to your doctor about what you can do to help with the upstream cause. Chemotherapy is one of the huge issues with um, people that get peripheral neuropathy. Cancer is the second leading cause of death in the United States, and almost 50% of those people end up with chemotherapy. 50% of them end up with radiation treatment. Radiation treatment is very responsible for peripheral neuropathy. I think 50% of the people that get radiation therapy end up with peripheral neuropathy. You can look at the Lancet Journal of Oncology for this. Now, there's a huge environmental cause of peripheral neuropathy, and one of the biggest one is glyphosate or Roundup. You've probably seen the lawsuits for this. And whether you're involved in that or not, the fact that you've been exposed to it, I've been exposed to it. I used to, live on 14 acres for 20 years. I used it before we knew what was going on. Thank God my body's strong enough to overcome the amount of Roundup that I've been exposed to. Forever chemicals. There's so many of these things that stop everything from sticking. We cook with it, we spray it on our furniture, and these forever chemicals, they're called forever chemicals for a reason. They never go away. They get in our body and they break down the cell walls. They get into the actual cell itself. Another thing, you've probably heard of nanoplastics, microscopic plastics now that are getting into our cells, into our body. Now, I was on a call with a gentleman, Dr. Spencer, the other day, just yesterday, actually, talking about some of the ways that we are now learning to get these nanoplastics out of our body, out of our cells. And it's a something we're all exposed to. And actually, they say that 0.5% of our DNA now has plastic in it. So the planet's evolving, and we need to make sure our bodies are not evolving as fast as the planet is getting toxic. So one of the things we have to do is make sure that we're getting the toxins out of our body. Those are the things that are causing the peripheral neuropathy, whether, it's a chemical medication you're having to taking, something that you've been exposed to on the job or in the house, they're in the air, so many different causes. Industrial chemicals and solvents. I was a mechanic for most of my younger life, even when I wasn't doing it professionally. I did it most of my youth playing with cars. I would take my hands and stick them in solvent at the end of the day to get the grease off. Well, that solvent gets into the skin and into the bloodstream, and then your liver has to dissolve it. And our livers have been incredibly assaulted by the toxins and chemicals in the environment. And the liver gets tired and old. So a lot of times we need to work on cleaning up our liver. If you want to learn more about this, come to the Peripheral Neuropathy Workshop this Tuesday. It's the 18th of February, McCollum Family Chiropractic in Capitola, Brown Rat Shopping Center, 12:30. Please call and reserve a seat, 831-459-9990. And then some of the other food additives. Well, right now in the news, there's a lot about what has been put in our food. Other countries won't even accept our food because of the toxicity in it. And we've been eating this stuff for years, unbeknownst to us, how poisonous and toxic it actually is and what damage it is doing to us. So now's the time to learn about that. And we have a workshop right now going on. It's a 30-day workshop teaching about food. That we will be doing more of these. So, you can tap into the resources that we have. A lot of it's online, some of it's in the office, but now's the time to decide to do something about your health. The world's changing rapidly. The country's changing rapidly. You know, it's time for you to do something. Maybe it's time for you to do something. And if it is, let us help you. We would love to help you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and you can get a hold of me at 831-459-9990. Heavy metals, molds, and hidden infections, huge, huge cause of disease, chronic disease in our body. Chronic disease is caused by chronic inflammation. We'll go into that more in a minute. Vitamin deficiency can be huge, or even too many of a certain vitamins that we can assume our body may not be able to get rid of them. This can cause nerve damage. Chemical exposure, as I mentioned, terrible autoimmune disease. The third most common disease is autoimmune. That means your body's fighting itself. So the enemy, when you don't know who to fight, you fight yourself. And, that's a huge problem. And number three cause of most common problem and diagnosis in our country now is autoimmune disease. When I was a kid, you never heard of it. Right now, around 50% of the children in our country have autoimmune disease. Huge proportion of the adults in our country have autoimmune disease, well over 50%. That means your body's fighting itself, and this means it's damaging the nerves in your body, and this is going to add to peripheral neuropathy. So number one, we got to bail out the boat. We got to turn the demise of those peripheral nerves around so you can get your function back. Then we need to go after what caused it in the first place, and that is whatever's causing the autoimmune disease, or just in general, the killing of the nerves. Alcohol abuse, smoking, repetitive trauma, infections, inherent disorders, tumors. So there was an article in Time magazine. It's been several years now. This is 2004, actually. And it's a Time magazine. It says the secret killer, inflammation, the surprising link between inflammation, heart attacks, cancer, Alzheimer's, and other disease. That's been 20 years since this article came out. 20 years. Time magazine, the cover of it, also the new Science of Health magazine, right around the same time, talked about autism, cancer, and eating. and what is actually the cause of these kind of diseases. And it's inflammation. Chronic inflammation causes chronic disease, no doubt. So what do we need to do? We need to do something about the chronic inflammation. So I mentioned earlier that we have 100 trillion bugs in our gut. These are called microbiome or the microbiota. And these guys basically are our friend or our enemy. And you have good guys and bad guys in there. And the more good guys you have, the healthier you're going to be. These microbiome basically digest your food and turn it into nutrients for you. So when you eat anything in your mouth, mucus attaches to it to break down starches, goes into your stomach. You've got enzymes and hydrochloric acid to break down proteins and get the process going. And then as it goes lower and lower in your intestines, you go to your small intestine, your large intestine. Your large intestine's filled up with these different mechanisms, these different bugs. And there's the intestine, the large intestine starts, but right down, if you put your right hand down by your right on between your about 2 inches to the left of your belly button, right of your belly button, go up along the side across the bottom of your rib cage in front, then down on the left side and then down and out. That's your large intestine, and it's filled with 100 trillion microbiome. At the beginning, closer to the right side on the bottom, before you start going up the ascending colon, there are different microbiome in there than there are on the descending colon all the way across, because it's like a manufacturing plant. Different workers along the way are going to do different things to get that car built or that thing manufactured. So you have to have enough of the right microbiome along the way to get a healthy digestive system. And the healthy digestive system is going to break down the foodstuffs and get it into the intestine so that it can be absorbed across the intestinal wall and get those nutrients on a smorgasbord to be floating around those 75 trillion cells. And each cell has a specific nutrients and things that it needs that it can take off of that plate that's being passed around. It's going to be different from the cells in the kidney versus the cells in the liver versus the muscle cells versus the brain cells. The brain's made predominantly of fat, and you need good, healthy oils in your diet in order to help regenerate those nerve cells and the brain cells, as well as the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. All that stuff you hear about has to be in a good abundance and in a clean environment to be used. I'll go over that just a little bit more. But the leaky gut syndrome, you may or may not heard of that. Your intestine is one cell thick. Really amazing to imagine that the intestinal wall is one cell thick. And in between each cell is a junction. And that junction is designed to let certain things go through between those two cells into basically the blood system of the gut. It's this amazing system that will absorb nutrients out of the large intestine, categorize them, break them down into usable things, and send it off in the bloodstream to get to the cells of the body so that the cells can be nourished. Now, we talked about inflammation. Inflammation is a chronic condition, and we know that it is one of the biggest conditions that are causing inflammation in the body. So when we get inflammation in the gut, bad things in the gut, then the inflammation causes those tight junctions between the one cell thick gut lining to open up, and it lets larger particles in there. Things that should never get into our bloodstream are getting through the intestinal integrity because of things like the chemicals that are opening it up, the forever chemicals, the toxins, the glyphosate, the heavy metals, the molds. It causes swelling. So it's not, the body can't work well when it's swelling. It's kind of like having your same oil in your car and your oil filter plugged and your air filter on the carburetor plugged when we used to have carburetors. nothing's going to work right. It's just going to start to cause damage. So we have good microbiota in our gut and bad ones. And the good ones, the normal ones, you've probably heard of lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, all these different things that you can get and take. You want to be careful not to take the same one over and over and over again. There's something like over 130 different type of bacteria that should be in the gut. Oftentimes, we've killed these bacteria with either antibiotics or stress or sugar or alcohol or different poisons that we're exposed to, and we don't replenish them well enough. It's very difficult to replenish them. A lot of times people think, oh, I took antibiotics. I'll go buy a bottle of lactobacillus and I'll take it for a week, and then you forget because you take it 3 days and you think you're feeling good. You have not replaced those bacteria in your gut. And then you get what's called dysbiosis or dysbiota, bad bugs. And there's a plethora of them that are living in our intestines, causing more and more leaky gut syndrome, more inflammation, and propagating disease. And viruses and things get the chance to grow off of these bacteria, and where the healthy bacteria would kill them. So we have something called the brain-gut connection, or the gut-brain connection. The microbiome in your gut communicate with the brain and the microbiome in the brain. And there's a peptide network that communicates through these. It was not understood, and I don't know that it's still completely understood how the bugs in the gut communicate to the brain. But a lot of times people go, I can't change my diet because I just crave such and such. Well, it's not you craving it. It's the bugs in your gut craving it. It's these huge amount of unhealthy bugs that are craving sugar, cookies, ice cream, dairy products, potato chips. If you realize it's not the brain in your head desiring it, it's the brain in your gut driving your head to wanting it, you can at least have a little bit more control about what you're putting in your body. But we do need to help. This is the upstream condition. We need to help your body heal by what you're putting in your body so that it can create more healthy cells and nutrients. So we really need to rebuild some of those damaged cells in your nervous system. And we know that the peripheral nerve can grow a millimeter a day if you do enough of the right stuff. And that's what we're going to teach you to do. And we'll go over that more at the workshop. One of the things that we know are heavy metals are so rampant in our society and in our planet now. They're being dropped on us from the sky. Airplane fuel has now been using aluminum in it because it gets better mileage. Well, those aluminum particles are floating down as cadmium, and there's so many different things that they see coming down out of the atmosphere onto our soil and into our air, and it gets into our body. I'm just going to use mercury for an example. Mercury, we've all been exposed to. So the most toxic heavy metal on the planet. We have used it in our teeth for years, 2 inches from the brain. And anyway, there's a huge amount of symptomatology from too much heavy metal in your body. And so here, I'm just going to read down a list of symptoms associated with just mercury alone: depression, mild fatigue, anxiety, forgetfulness, eyelids, face and muscle twitching, digestive issues, constipation or diarrhea, frequent bad breath, body odor, dizziness, irritability, sensitivity to sounds, unable to concentrate, brain fog, abnormal menses, low body temperature, cold hands and feet, tender teeth, tinnitus or ringing in the ears, insomnia, metallic taste in the mouth, nail fungus, unexplained anger, immune response, autoimmune response, or autoimmune disease. So these are some of the things that people are complaining about. And a lot of times they're medicating these things, but not looking for the upstream cause. So one of the things that we do when we're looking at helping with peripheral neuropathy, we also, it's not there's no magic pill, and you can't medicate yourself into a healthier body. And it's something that you got to work on and desire to change and be willing to do. You got to put the time and the effort into it, and you have to invest in your body's health because nothing matters if you lose your health. I heard it said that we all have lots of problems in the world, tons of problems. But when we have a health problem, all others go away. So, what happens, what actually gets these conditions to occur is your cup runneth over. And if I can explain this, we're all brought into this planet with a certain amount of toxicity in our body already. We know that mother's umbilical blood is filled with 278 toxins. Some are neurotoxins, some are cancerous, that have come into our body via mom's umbilical blood. And also heavy metals, we know those come down 4 generations through mom's umbilical blood as well. So we come in with we'll just call it a glass that already has some toxics in it. Throughout our own life, once our body stops being able to handle the toxic load, the glass starts to fill up. You can have some moderate diseases, some health issues, but then once it overflows, this is when you start to get more serious conditions and bad genes turning on, causing these bad genetic disorders. So this is, like you think of George Burns. Some of you remember him. He lived to be 104 or 5. He drank every day and he smoked cigars every day. And he just died of natural causes, So why was he able to do that? Where right now 50% of the youth, 50% of the children have chronic autoimmune disease. Well, there's a certain amount of being able to maintain your body's health even despite the environment, but also there's a lot more toxins in the environment that our body has to be able to handle. And it's at a young age. What are we doing to enhance the children's health? So I have use the example of if you pull a plant out of the ground and there's the root system is attached and you wash it off with a hose, and all those white roots would be the nerves coming down out of your spine down to your toes. You take that plant and you put it in a solution of toxic water. Those nerves will start to die, those roots will start to die, and eventually it will kill the plant itself. But if you take that plant out of that toxic water and put it into a nutritious um, nutritious element, all of a sudden, this amazing thing happens and life starts to desire to thrive, and that plant can come back to life. And if long as you catch it soon enough, it will thrive. And this is what happens to our body. Our body, the reason you have peripheral neuropathy or other disease is because your body's been dosed in toxins. And the organs start to break down. The liver starts to break down in diabetes. Your cells get too toxic to have the hormone insulin act on it. They can't get into the cell, so the body becomes toxic. And pretty soon, when you can't get enough sugar out of the bloodstream because the cells are impermeable or don't hear insulin knocking on the door, too much insulin or sugar in your blood will cause what we call high glycinated blood cells. They have sugar frosted flake blood cells, and those sugar frosted flake blood cells can't get through the capillaries because the capillaries are too tiny to allow for those sugar elements. And then you scratch the inside of the capillary or the tiny blood vessel, and sugar starts to build up. Excuse me, scar tissue builds up, clogging the arteries, and then you get diabetes, and then you get limb amputation. Number one cause of limb amputation of avoidable is diabetes. The number one cause of preventable blindness, diabetes. It leads to cancers and various other conditions because of because of sugar affecting that. So this is something that we can give you information about when you come to our workshop. So without oxygen, anything dies, nerves die. You can have structural trauma, from accidents or injuries. We do a, a fluoroscopy, X-ray, or a picture of your extremities to look for blood flow, and oftentimes we see that the tissue's not healthy. That's something we can do in the office. When your peripheral nerve nerves start to die, It's like the sheath around that light, the plastic sheath around the light protecting the plastic. It's called a myelin sheath in the nerves. It starts to break down. And as it breaks down, the nerves start to decay. So something we can do about it. Medications can cover up your symptoms, but they're not going to solve your problem. Let me know if they do. We can't medicate ourselves out of a chronic condition. There is no magic pill, but something can be done about it. You should come to our workshop on the 18th of February, 12:30, McCollum Family Chiropractic, 831-459-9990. I'm almost out of time here, but if you know anybody that is having these kind of problems and they need help, get them to come to the workshop, bring them yourself, or come if you have a condition. We're going to teach you about how we re-educate the nerves. We're going to show how we reestablish oxygenation to the nerves to help bring them back to life, help get new capillaries in the area that the capillaries have been damaged. You need new blood vessels there. We're going to show you how to restore blood flow to the extremities so your body can come back. We use a lot of amazing things. Albert Einstein says E equals mc squared. We use laser therapy as a light therapy to help the mitochondria, the power plant in the cell, come back. It's pretty amazing. It increases cellular regeneration and increases communication. We also use sound. Talk about Ludwig van Beethoven. Our sound machine sends a wave through your body at 3,358 miles an hour to help restore it. It's called the soft wave therapy machine. We send you home with incredible equipment to help you do this at home. We get really awesome results. Remember, the greatest physician who ever lives inside of you. All you need to do is ask it for its help and listen to it, get out of its way. We'll help you get out of its way so the body can heal. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I'm talking about our peripheral neuropathy workshop that is going to happen this coming Tuesday, February 18th at my office. It's in Capitola in the Brown Ranch Shopping Center. We do need you to call to make a reservation, and because these things fill up, and we would love to see what we can do to help you. 831-459-9990. 831-459-9990, info at McCollum Family Chiropractic .com or info at McCollumWellness.com, I mean. But call the office, 831-459-9990, and see what we can do to help you handle your peripheral neuropathy. It's worth it. At least get the education. You may walk away thinking, nah, I'm not interested in this, or you might go, wow, I've been looking for this. When you hear some of the success stories of our patients, it's changed their lives dramatically. They're happy, healthy, getting around, and you have that opportunity, and you deserve to be happy and healthy. There's no day like today to be healthy, and all you have to do is show up. We'll teach you everything we know and what we can do to help you. Dr. Duncan McCollum, 831-459-9990. I really hope that you decide to show up to our office or give a call. Dr. Duncan McCollum, we really want to help you change your life and your health and your future. Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic, 831-459-9990. And may today be the beginning of the rest of your life, and may your life be blessed. We're here to do what we can to help you make sure that happens. Thank you very much. Dr. McCollum out, and till we meet again. Happy trails to you. Goodbye.